Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Call of the Netherdeep here on Dork Tales. I think we were just in a discussion on how to have a pool party, I guess, at Chris's virtual background.
Yeah.
If you're
Nice.
seeing us live. So, hi everybody. This is How to Run Chapter 2, and we are very tired.
Yes.
I haven't fully opened my eyes in 4 days.
Yeah,
Migraine last night. Still feeling foggy.
If this is a time capsule for the future and you have no idea what's going on with Dork Tales right now, we just ran a 3-day long convention over the weekend, and it is a Tuesday. And Monday was for sleeping, which I don't think most of us actually ended up doing. Did you sleep at all?
I was 2 hours late to work because I slept through my alarm, but I went to work.
Did you go to work? I took the day off and didn't do anything.
I went to work and they sent me back home because I was not going to be able to do the work I was supposed to do. So they're just like, go home, Robin.
I had to train my replacement.
Ooh, that's a power feeling, right? Though you're just like,
Yeah. It's
how many
cool.
times did you say, well, this is what we're supposed to do, but this is what we really do?
Being as I built all the programs we use from scratch, very few. I said, this is what you fucking do. Which was also
no
a power
replacement
trip
for you. There's no replacement.
I had a lot of people, I introduced her, and a lot of people kind of looked at me with puppy dog eyes of, wait, you're leaving?
Aw, that's
You
pretty
could-
great. All right, so folks, none of us had the mental fortitude to be, well, I guess Caitlan did because she's a tank, but like the rest of us didn't have the mental fortitude to actually do a full game tonight. I've been fighting an awful headache all day that I finally have gotten the better of, but it would have totally ruined all my prep for Bazazan. So today we're doing How to Run Chapter 2, which is something I said we probably wouldn't do, but everybody else in the team said we probably would do. And they were right, I was wrong, which happens sometimes when you're a dungeon master. You learn. So today we're talking about Call of the Netherdeep Chapter 2, how you can run it a little better. Before that, let's do some introductions. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm your dungeon master here. You see him, and I'm excited to be here because we get to talk about Chapter 2 and some fun things that you can do or not do to make the chapter a little better, as well as a little bit of loving critique of the chapter, because I do have some problems with it that I want to address with you, but be sure to stick around for those. Let's go in a big circle, and let's start with the most awake person here. Let's start with Caitlan.
Hello. Maybe the most awake, but I don't have my glasses on right now.
You can put them on. We're using Zoom today, so I don't have to fight with the backgrounds.
Yeah, this is true. I was just like trying to clean them because they're kind of grungy. Anyway, hello, I'm Caitlan. I use she, her pronouns, and I go by Petite Medic on all social medias. And usually I will be playing Xarria Rainn, the tiefling cleric of the Raven Queen. But tonight you just get me. Womp.
All right. Next most awake person is probably Chris.
Awake. I have had a significant amount of sleep, but I'm very foggy. Hi, I'm Chris. I can be found here exclusively on Dork Tales. I use he, him, they pronouns. I like saying that I'm exclusive to Dork Tales because I don't do anything else with any of the other social media I am on. If you find me on something else, I'm only there for the memes. Yeah, I play Dorlen, Wildrock, and nice to be here and see y'all.
Fantastic. All right, up to Robin probably next.
Yeah, as she says, as I'm still fighting yawns. Oh, wait, no, that's on Mondays.
Yeah, when we're in the land of yawn.
But yes, hello everyone. I'm Robin. Go on. I don't think so. I'm Robin. I use she, her, or they, them pronouns. And I usually play Kaeko, Skaar, our Goliath bard. But I'm apparently just brainless tonight. So good. I'm glad we're not playing because, boy, I mean, actually, no, we should be playing because Keiko's dumb. But
Wow, you are out of it. I get what you mean, though. No hard feelings here.
no hard feelings, but Keiko has an int of 7.
Robin.
I could.
Okay. What
did you say?
I didn't say anything.
You say kill Robin?
What? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't kill Kaeko.
Robin was saying Keiko's dumb, not anybody else.
Yeah.
That was
It was
Exactly.
about the I'm
okay.
glad we're not playing, but it was a joke.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, see.
I wouldn't know how to roll a dice, Kelly. I think at
I
this
know.
point,
I'm
I
just giving you
would.
crap. I'm just giving you crap.
I know. But yes, I would probably just be rolling d12s like Jake did at the beginning of NADPOD for the first bit.
Roll a d12. What's that? What's a d12?
What's that one look like?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
I didn't use
Also,
enough of the Mistelfrin.
before I pass it over to Christa, I do want to say that Dazed Apricot, thank you for making a Bones coffee order. Don't forget to use our code. But also, that's a really good flavor. The from Dusk Till Donuts, really solid. That's actually my favorite mug, which is actually in the wash right now. Oh, you got your new dice?
I did get my new dice, though.
You only got
my
half
greens,
of them from the looks of it.
Yeah.
my greens apparently.
The other ones have like cloaking or something.
Yeah, they're green
Obfuscate.
with purple. They're called Goblin Spit. It's great. But yes, go also get adventure dice.
Get adventure dice. We'll talk about that during later. All right. So, and then finally, Christa.
Hi, I am a sentient mass of caffeine. Because that's all I'm running on right now. And noodles. But I'm Christa. I use she, her, they, them pronouns, and I normally play Sabina Moorden, our Beastmaster Ranger, who is a Lotus Den halfling, and her best buddy, Dax, the Moorbounder.
Nice. All right.
So that
today-
I got through all of that.
You
I'm
got
pretty
through
proud
all
of that
it
one.
without talking about coffee or anything like that. It's pretty great. All right, so
I
folks.
did mention caffeine.
True, but it was part of their being, really. So
It is correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so folks, we're talking about chapter 2. So I want to ask the honest question. So technically, there's a tiny bit of chapter 2 left because like you're only at the halfway mark, but the rest of the trip's going to be pretty damn uneventful. Because I want to get to Bazzoxan. It is the long and short of it. So there will be some mild spoilers for Critical Role Call of the Netherdeep Chapter 2 here. If you want to go in into this with like no spoilers, like completely a completely pure experience, maybe you should just put us on mute and give us the view. But if you don't mind hearing a couple things, feel free to stick around. Basically, chapter 2 covers everything from the moment that you get the magic MacGuffin from chapter 1, the Jewel of Three Prayers, to when you get to Bazzoxan. Okay, so it's the travel arc, and we had a bit of talking about this occur during our module section, our module panel, which you can find on YouTube later this week, or you can still find in the VODs on Twitch right now for from Dork Tales Expo. But I'd like to cover a lot of that here. So I'd like to ask, what was everyone's take on this chapter? What did they really like, and what were they kind of iffy on? So anybody who wants to go first, just go ahead and pop in. Yeah, Chris.
I found I did enjoy some of the dynamics that showed up between the different characters and the NPCs, and chance to kind of get to know them more and see what the rivals NPCs and how we interacted more, and define a little bit more of that. I was hoping for a little bit more of that kind of stuff, and like just kind of things that felt like grindy a little bit, like the arc. I find like travel arcs tend to be I feel them like a little bit like filler episodes in anime, right? Like like some of them can be good, and you know, I do enjoy combat in D&D, don't get me wrong, but I always, every time I see something like start out like one way and then like kind of go that way, it makes me think of some modules where I haven't had as much fun. I'm just like, please don't be this, please don't make me this. So like I'm looking forward to getting to the end of the travel and see what goes on. And I did enjoy that there were those times to have those interactions with each other, which was great. But I always have that little worry that it's going to be something like that. So when there's a travel arc, and it felt kind of rushed too, which I think in this case hopefully is good. We'll see what happens when we get to Bazzoxan. Yes,
It's got X's and Z's in it, or Z's, depending on your pronunciation. So what part of it felt rushed to you?
I don't know. It just doesn't feel like we've gone through a whole chapter.
It's a pretty short chapter, really, right? So was it something I was doing, or was it kind of just the material?
No, I think it was the material.
Okay.
I know, like you were saying in one of the things with modules that have random encounters, that you pick the ones that you like, and I know the way you are with it, you probably are just like, hey, those kind of all tie together, which is nice. But when I say it felt like rushed, short is maybe the better word. I'm a little foggy still,
It
did feel like it was a very, like, it was just like, oh, that was a chapter. Like,
okay, so let me give you an
it's done.
example. So in the book, Chris, so this chapter, including let's see, half a page of art, a full page map, and 2 half-page arts, and an extra half page. So let's see, 2.5 pages of this are just art and maps. It is 10 pages long, exactly, this chapter. So there's only 7 pages of content here, and a lot of that is taken up by trying to give dungeon masters ideas on, like, running this chapter, heroic quest, ours by right, warring destinies, kind of setting up, like, what are you doing with the rival party?
Depending on what choices everyone made and what happened, like if they got the gem, if we got the gem, and where their relationships are with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, but the thing about this is that our game is actually a bit of an outlier, I have a feeling, compared to what we would see in normal play, because in well, actually I wouldn't know that, but the way the module is set up, you're not supposed to be traveling with the other party. You're supposed to be either tailing them or they are tailing you, even though the book is written such that if you're friendly, Io straight up approaches you at the beginning of chapter 2 and is like, hey, let's go together. But they don't write that into the damn module. Exactly.
Yo, is that what we're supposed to say? No.
So like I'm gonna point blank read this to you, okay? All right.
Okay.
We're
Io
greedy.
doesn't mince words. She wants to know what they found in the grotto. If she gets the sense that the characters have stumbled onto something big, her eyes go wide. She decides that she and her group want a piece of the action and proposes they travel with the characters, and then they never touch on this again, really. So they like kind of suggest that like the characters are willing to travel with you, but then like that's it. That's really all that they.
Huh.
In addition to random encounters, 2 encounters occur at specific points, as described later in the chapter. Rivals reunion. This encounter occurs if the rivals left you go ahead of the characters, or if the characters left first. You will eventually meet them either along the way or at the caravan, right? But there's nothing in this damn thing, and all of the encounters are designed for a party. It's designed to be a PC party as you're traveling across the wastes, because some of these encounters are very tough. It's trying to put the fear of the wastes in you. It's trying to put that little bit of like, oh crap, like we're under leveled. We need to be careful. There's a lot of dangerous stuff here. I had to go above and beyond to actually try to hurt you in it.
Well, one of the most, honestly, I think it's still one of the most tension-inducing, most like dramatic moments of campaign 2 is when they are crossing the wastes of Xhorhas, and a rock is chasing them, and like it was a very scary encounter, and them trying to outrun this rock by like polymorph run for an hour, and like it was a very scary environment, and I remember that encounter.
Do you feel scared in this one?
The last encounter.
The last encounter, yes. Up until that point, not really. Which, because we had double the like recommended or
exactly
the
right. And I think that last fight only got scary because all the rivals got taken, like they got paralyzed for a round, which was,
well, they rolled for garbage and then got paralyzed.
Right. But it's because I got a really strong hit, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do some permanent damage to one of these people. And the moment that not Dorlen, Dermot got his eye plucked out, I think that
Brutal.
elevated the tension. Like you're like,
Hugely.
oh god,
Absolutely.
yes, hugely.
that
And
That
it
made a
was a
big
hard
difference.
creature too. Like it was we weren't getting much damage because we were worrying about. That was an encounter where we were doing a bit more of like damage control with like the, oh my god, mephits on the ground as well. So it was like we had these little things that were annoying and having to deal with.
The quasits, not mephits.
Closets,
Yeah,
not
that was
mephits.
one, yeah.
Sorry,
Actually, it's probably best they weren't mephits because quasits don't explode when they die. Mephits do.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, right. Don't ever hug a mephit to death. It won't go well
Mm-mm.
for you, no matter what
Damn
type it
it.
is. They
Don't
usually.
explode its face.
I mean, like you're a tiefling. Hug a magma mephit, you'll probably be okay. Yeah, I mean, you could probably hug a blood mephit. Ooh, make blood
Nice.
mephits. Hold on, I'm gonna put that on my
The
to-do
Yeah.
list.
heck
the
yeah.
most tension and the most kind of like fear, like definitely like that moment and when you caused the permanent wound on Dermot. But I found the most kind of like, oh shit, like something's going down was the moon.
Oh, the moon is actually one of the things I really like about this. So it is simply an encounter that it's an optional encounter. The fact that they don't. Oh, you're right. The moon is what actually made that encounter scary. Now that I think about it, because
Yes.
We had
Oh,
disadvantage
that's
to
true.
everything.
Yeah.
so
Not the effects of it, just the like
Ambiance.
Well,
oh shit.
it is a fantastic place to end an episode on, by the way. So if you're running this, like
Mhm.
end it on the moon before or after they get to hell. Have it happen in the caravan. The caravan is a safe zone, but that doesn't mean it can't be overwhelmed by demons or something like that. Like if you really want to hammer home how dangerous this is, have the caravan be overwhelmed. But no, that will change kind of the topography of the campaign to make it much more desperate in places. But maybe hit them like a day outside, like, or a day before. But yeah, I think it's funny, Chris, that you say that like the character dynamics and the socialization between the rivals and the party is one of the peaks for you here, or one of the at least the peak opportunities, and it was not in the module. Like that's just not there. Period. And
We're not supposed to say yes.
you're not so well, or if you are, they just didn't plan for it, and I feel like that was kind of a rush job. It's weird. It's weird. Well, what else did
Yeah.
anybody else like about this?
I think I kind of get Chris's feeling of like rushed or short, because it did feel a bit like it felt a little bit starting to get like the random encounter repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that it doesn't in Witchlight, which I don't know what it is about it, but Witchlight, the random encounters in Witchlight and how we're going through doesn't seem as like, I think Chris used like grindy and crunchy. It did feel like that, and like it was very weird because it's like
I can tell you why.
Yeah.
It's because almost all of the ones in Netherdeep go to combat. The ones they're usually there are two flavors of random encounter that lead to combat inside of Netherdeep, and they are either you walk up and get surprised by something, or you get attacked by something. Like it's not like it's either user error, but you're leaning into it if you're being attacked. Like if you're going out and looting a body, you're like, okay, you're probably gonna get attacked by something. It's probably bait for something, right? Or it's just simply like something swoops down out of the sky, right?
Yeah.
But in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which I actually find to be probably my favorite Wizards of the Coast module that has ever been written, just because a lot of the encounters are little like role-playing things where you can talk your way out of it, or there might be combat, but there doesn't have to be. And if your players don't want to take it that direction, they absolutely have the freedom of control there. Whereas here, I mean, what do we have? Okay, that we went through, because on your way out of Bazzoxan, you might have a couple of these things happen, which was the kind of my it was kind of the weird part about like, do we run how to run now, or do I have to run it after chapter 3? Because when you leave, like, it was kind of weird. So let's see. The El Omen is fantastic. That's the moon one. It's great. So that's the one where the moon just appears and curses everybody. Love it. Moorbounder Mayhem is the one where Justice is being harassed by two bristled Moorbounders while riding Rice Pudding, his own Moorbounder.
I love them.
It's great, right? The name Rice Pudding there, like that's some good character work.
Yeah.
and that you get some cool loot out of it. You get like goggles of night. That's really good. So that's a pretty great encounter because that's one that players can engage with, or they could just choose to let him die, right? But if they do get engaged with these bristled moorbounders, which are pretty tough actually, you get something out of it. Like it's a cool little plot beat where you get to act like heroes.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that it was delayed, because we got that at the caravan. We got that later, like an episode later.
It was a fun loop around, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a nice callback.
It helps build the world, right? Demonic Carrion was the one that was really bad. So that's you encounter the corpse of an Udok, one of the enormous ape-like demons that have prowled the wastes of Xhorhas since the calamity. The corpse is covered with like signs of war, and then what looks like a carrion bird circles the battlefield at about 300 feet up. It's actually a Vrock that's been feeding on the mortal flesh strewn around the battlefield. Damn, I should have narrated the mortal, like the human bodies being a little more picked through clean, to be honest. That was my bad. 3 Quasits are hiding in the Udok's fur. I think I used 4 because there were enough of you. And then you find a bunch of stuff, and you get the +1 dagger that becomes a +1 battle axe later, that thing. I mean, that's an okay fight. I had a comment on YouTube, I think it was, that said, "Oh, did nobody take magic missile?" For one, nobody in the party can have magic missile. Wait, do you have magic missile?
Always prepared as a armorer.
Oh,
I was
amazing.
doing other things.
That's fair. Okay, so then you're the only character that actually has access to it, if I'm not mistaken, because it's wizard sorcerer. But I mean, besides that, was there anything that was really good about that? Like it was a hard fight. You get a +1 item, which is pretty great.
I think it was a good encounter for the fear, the seriousness of the terrain that we're in.
And the introduction of the waste walkers, that like finding out who they were, and that added a level of like, oh, okay, people that live here will also fall prey to these things, so we need to be even more careful as outsiders.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice that everything started with that like festival of merit, woohoo, and then woohoo, we got the thing, we're the chosen ones, let's go on this adventure. Bam, this is the reality of it, right? It's not going to be a happy-go-lucky jaunt in the field. There are actual consequences. We might actually die.
And that is kind of nice, right? Like it is good to have that threat. Now, to give a little bit of credit to the module, because I've said that there's nothing about it here. So, reunion with the rivals. This encounter takes place only if the characters are trailing behind the rivals and traveling at a fast pace to catch up with them. So, this is assuming you didn't start with them. If the rivals are friendly or indifferent, they welcome the character's arrival. The party catches up to the rivals in the daytime. The rivals agree to travel together for a while. To make role-playing rivals easier, have 1 or 2 of them take center stage during this encounter, ask them questions, blah, blah, blah. But it does not give any dungeon masters suggestions about running with it. And while like I'm fine running like a 10-person party where I'm running half the party myself, a lot of people who are picking up this book for the first time are running a Critical Role module because they're critters. Like they're people who have, right? Christa, go ahead, go nuts on this one.
This module is built for an experienced dungeon master, from what I can tell.
Absolutely.
And the people that want to buy it are people that have never played a day in their life and are like, wow, I can finally play in Critical Role, because their only introduction to Dungeons and Dragons has been Critical Role. And they're going to try to run it, and they're going to hate it because they're not going to be Matt Mercer, and their table's going to hate it because they're not Matt Mercer and they're not the players of Critical Role. And they're going to get
the players.
Yeah, exactly. Like the DM isn't Matt Mercer. They're not the players. It's not going to come out the way that they want it, and they're going to hate D&D.
It's funny because the usual effect with the Matthew Mercer effect, usually, and as far as I've seen from like any videos or forum posts I've read, seem to be wholly aimed at the dungeon master. The number one comment that gets rebutted is always like, well, yeah, your game's not Critical Role, but you're not Critical Role's cast.
I call it the critical role effect.
That's a more
Absolutely.
honest thing.
Yes.
But everybody always blames the dungeon master in this situation for not being Matthew Mercer. And like Matthew Mercer's a really excellent dungeon master. But he has a really good cast that honestly does half the lifting for him or more.
He has a very specific niche that he's good at, and he leans into it hard. And his cast has a very specific niche that they're good at, and they lean into it hard. And they're very good at what they do.
They are. And one of the things that I think the skill that I think when I look at Matthew Mercer and I watch him run games, there are a couple of things that I really, really admire. Because when you watch somebody who basically you watch someone in the same field as you, who like a celebrity in that field, and you go, okay, what can I do that he does? What can I adapt? Like what lessons can I take from this? And the number one lesson that I see is that he doesn't do much. He does a lot. Don't get me wrong. But comparatively, he does a lot. He expends a lot fewer calories running the game.
Yeah.
Than I feel like a lot of DMs do, because he lets the players play and then provides like he lets them do all the work while he's mixing the paint and getting the canvas ready.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of why we feel, and we've talked about this before, if we have felt that the pacing is a little bit off, it's a little bit different, like, oh, that was supposed to take us longer to finish. And I think I mean, that one in particular, we were like, but we were all thinking about racing there. We weren't going to be like chatting, like, you know, having a goof off good time with like a fish in the water or something like that.
I think that rocked. But, like, I think we did great, but
I think we did awesome. No, I'm not saying that we didn't do a good job, but I think that part of what makes this feel like chapter 2 was just like, I felt it was really short. And I think that part of that was because we were like, okay, we go to this place and we do this thing. But while we're going there, we could have been like talking to each other, right? What are we talking about? What are we like? Are we, you know, just kind of going off with each other and stuff like that? And I think that's what he's expecting people are going to be doing a bit more of. So that's why I feel like it didn't kind of feel like a fully fleshed out.
Robin, you just brought up roses and thorns. So roses are being positive things about an experience, thorns being things that were less positive or that you wish you could change, like basically like pros and cons, gripes and loves. We can start talking about this module like that if you think that would be more.
I think so, because I honestly, like, when we had the opening scene on Watch with Kaeko and Irvin, I actually was like, oh, I kind of wish we would have had a bit more of those like Watch talks. I think that would have been a really good thing to slide into.
That's another thing that Critical Role does really well is Watch talks.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those like okay, make sure if we have time to do this in the future when like just to kind of like remind everyone and be like, you know, not just to fast forward to the next day. Sometimes like, oh, we should actually take that time and have a conversation, because I would love to get our interactions and then our interactions between, like, I would love to see a Watch with Dermot and Dorlen. I would love to see that scene play out.
Yes.
Well, and I think this is one of the downsides to the lot of us having, I don't know about all of you, but the only D&D I've played in 3 years has been performative and has been, we need to keep on time and we need to keep on story. So taking that, like, so I go, ooh, I'd really like to have this scene, or ooh, I'd really like to talk about this, but we're on the next scene already.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thing too.
I'm not voicing my desire to do it because we're moving on to the next thing. Well, and I don't want to push that. And I'm not saying this is on, like, I'm not saying, Kelly, you're pushing us too fast. I'm saying that, like, you give us that little bit of space for us to voice our opinions, but we're like, well, we should probably move on to the next thing since we're doing this module and we're on a time crunch and we need, like, I think all of us are kind of in that
we're all that's always what's going on in my head, is the pacing and the timing and we kind of need to get to this place for the next thing. Does this scene
make sense? Yeah,
exactly.
So Christa, we actually talked about that, and I don't think you were in that panel last weekend during Dork, but I mentioned something that was kind of getting to me, and it was like I was worried because I really wanted to do, particularly in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, I wanted to have another character development episode. But I was like, I brought this up, that this is the problem with running for a stream, is that I was like, I was having this mental debate where I'm like, oh, I really want to run some more character focused stuff, but I'm running a module. Are people going to sit around and watch characters that are not like, you know, for example, like Sabina is not a character in like the book, right? So are people watching this for the story? Are they watching this for like to see how someone else ran it so that they can, you know, take any advice or failings that I have? And I was talking through this during the convention, and I was like,
I think you touched on it at like one of the wrap. I think it was in How to Win D&D, I think, maybe, because I know I remember listening to you talk about this. I
think what I'm gonna do in that, I think if you're running this at the home, not on stream, take as much time as you need. You don't have to progress the plot. You can spend like 5 game sessions crossing the wastes. Like,
and Fly By Night said that their group was alone. They didn't have the rivals with them. You don't always have to involve the DM at all. Like, cut them out, have conversations just with your fellow party members, like that, like we were saying, like if you love Critical Role, that's what they do.
Oh, a lot of the time, yeah.
So something that's a little bit difficult for us to do online like this, though, because like if you and I are having a conversation while Kelly's painting a scene for Robin and Caitlan, it's just all noise.
We can't crosstalk.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant like,
oh, gotcha. Sorry.
Just stop everything else. Like, just tell people, like, we're having it. Like, you know what, Chris, you and I are having a scene. We're gonna have a scene together, and we're not gonna stop talking until our scene's done.
We're making a scene
like,
now.
Exactly. and I mean, like, if you guys are at a table, I don't know how Fly By Night's playing, but if they're playing at a table, like, you know what, a little crosstalk, especially if it's the person, like, my favorite role-playing scenes of all time are with my friend Nick when we're sitting beside each other at a table and we have character interactions. Like, those are my favorite things.
I think what I'm going to do for the future with this, though, is that now that we've hooked you, if you're in, this is the 6th episode that we have now you're in, now we've got the investment. So if we have some character development, I think that's partially it, right? Is that I'll take a little more time in the future and stop worrying about people clicking, you know? Yeah. It's weird. It gets in your head.
It does. And I think part of, like, I think how we were talking this weekend about how, like, the modules are the Nickelback that fund the indie bands. I think if the modules are a little bit more rote and are a little bit more follow the story, I think that's fine, because there's so many other places that we do get the opportunity to really flesh those out. And if we do, if the choice was to run a module just to go step by step, then that's fine. Like, that's totally, like, I think that's okay. I don't think there's a problem with it. And if we've all agreed to that, I think that's fine. But I think, like, in an ideal, that's why I always say, if we weren't streaming this is what I would want to do.
I think it's very fortunate that we're all fairly competent role players and actors, so though that we can get across a lot of that even in more abbreviated timetables.
Yeah, truncated, you know? Like, scenes. Yeah,
because even I honestly would love to go a little later, but I mean, we do this all after work, so it's kind of tiring, right? It's not like we don't get Thursdays off.
Yeah, exactly. Join the Patreon and get our Patreon up to large numbers, and we can take the day off.
Do it. Join the Patreon. Also, thanks.
One of the neat things about the LARPs that you used to run, Kelly, where, like, they were so big, and like it was you and maybe just a couple of people, like, helping you out, kind of thing. But so there was lots of space for, like, people were doing different things, and there was only so many different people to help kind of run things, so a lot of it was just character building and talking with each other in character and getting into it. And
that was pretty cool. I really did, in those moments, because it was just us and nobody watching, really milked a lot of the awkward moments. Like a bunch of characters just had a huge blowout fight, and I'm like, great, you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, now you're in a van. Okay, cool. So we get to the next place. I said you're in a van. An hour passes. Another
real time
hour.
Go.
Well, no, I would keep them in real time for a half hour.
Yeah.
I would be like, the flight is 30 minutes. You guys are stuck sitting next to each other. Like, go. And, like, you'd get some really great interactions that way. But I think streaming, you gotta cut that out. Robin.
I think like a lot of the chat is saying is I think yes for I think that clicks. I think the clicks are what gets you the tons of clicks on episode 1. I think the constant views people I think watch Dork Tales especially. I think they watch us for our stories and our characters because I think we have really good both. Both of them are really good. I think your stories are fantastic and like all of our cast are amazing at having characters. What are you laughing while I'm trying to be nice?
You're wonderful because I was thinking earlier because I talked about clicks and views during the last part of the con, and like there's like a little Twitter, very small, but like a few people on Twitter, other content creators are talking about like their big numbers and stuff like that. And I'm just remembering you're talking about that, and I was like, oh well, they should go watch like Random Memories, get those numbers up. And I was like, but they should really watch this my Let's Play so I can have more than 5 views.
Oh, that's why you're laughing.
I was laughing because I was thinking we've got like 30,000 views on Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and I've got 5 views on my Last of Us playthrough.
We're all,
and I'm 2 of them.
I own one video game, and it's Overwatch, and I have played a total of maybe 5 hours at absolute most.
I'd watch you play that anyway.
But I don't think a ton of our audience is necessarily video game folks.
Yeah, I think they want to watch us do our thing and tell a story. So I think I think we all need to worry less, maybe a bit more about the pacing and to get a little bit better at taking back some of those more scenes. Like say, hey, Kaeko would love to sit around the fire with Xarria or Sabina or Dorlen and have that scene play out.
Don't worry. I've got some great stuff coming. I actually do it.
I was just gonna say, I think personally, because they are modules and people are here to watch us run the module, I always get really nervous being like, is my character good enough? Do people actually enjoy this character? Or would they be like, oh damn, this bitch talking for 20 minutes with some other person. I like that other person, but this bitch, like
you're the only one with a command yet.
Yes. Well, it's not technically her command.
Okay, everybody likes, honestly, all of your characters are great. Everybody likes your characters. Dorlen's a button-pushing freak machine. Xarria's a sex bomb. Kaeko's like a horny bard who does songs. And Sabina is a cinnamon roll. Like everybody likes everybody. It's fine.
It's more that's kind of why I put her out there, but not so much as to be like, like the banter usually.
You tell you what, turn it up. I think we could get more out of her. Let's do it after this. Let's start opening her up. Let's start opening her up. You can, and if it goes too far, we can always turn it back. You can have the day that she forgot her meds in the history of the game. She forgot to take her Adderall that day, or she took more of it. I don't know. It is what it is. Speaking of somebody, that's not a crack. That's a lived experience. Just gonna put that out there before the comment section floods.
Yeah, and I think we all need to be willing as well to kind of like push each other, because I think what happens is we all want to leave space for other people to talk, and then that sounds like us doing nothing. And so Kelly, you're going, oh, okay, no one wants to talk, okay, move on to the next thing, where we're all like, well, I kind of want to do something, but I want to let someone else do something.
Yeah, I don't want to be this. I don't want to be a scene hog. I was just very prevalent in the last scene, so I don't want to be prevalent in this scene. I want to let someone else do it.
We're too Canadian.
We're so Canadian.
No, you're positive players. You're positive players, and you're trying to help each other, right? I think that spotlighting is really important to make sure that everybody gets that. But how about you let me worry about that more than you worry about it? I mean, be mindful of each other. Like if you're like, oh, I got all the kills and all the role player for like 3 hours already, maybe I shouldn't butt into this scene. Cool. If you want to do that, you think that's good. That's good. But don't be afraid to take your spotlight. Damn it. Because take it, and if I need to adjust it, I'll adjust it. Okay? Or I'll PM
especially
you and be like, shut up.
And especially if we're having conversations with another NPC, at least you could shut us down.
Tobin, you say something really good there. Watching you give the players opportunities to roleplay is part of learning how to run the chapters. You know what? I hadn't thought of it that way.
Oh,
That's looking for gaps in the plot where development can happen. That's smart. You're smart.
Well done.
I like you.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of this one in particular. Like I was saying, like I like the opening of it better because it gives you so much more room for role play. I was kind of the outlier in saying I liked the opening of Netherdeep more than Witchlight, in that I felt like it was just a lot more lazy and you could kind of just do your own thing. There wasn't a time crunch. And so I think this module in particular, it's one of the reasons it's probably better for more advanced role players. But it also gives that opportunity more than some of them, I think.
It's so
I'd say still in chapter, sorry.
No,
In chapter 1, it's kind of a more of a curated, this is a time for role play, whereas in chapter 2, the DM kind of has to find it. Like, you're traveling together. It's still about, you know, there's nothing in the distance, you know, what are you talking about kind of thing. Who's navigating kind of thing, right? So.
Yeah, Bazzoxan, when we get to Bazzoxan, we get a bit more on the rails again, I think. So when we were talking about this module during our module panel this weekend, what we were talking about how we didn't like chapter 2. Like, that came out a bunch. And I was trying to explain that this is a Dragon Age game. Like, this is really just playing Dragon Age Inquisition, where it's like, there's a lot of role-playing opportunities, but chapter 2 is very much like, oh, you are traveling to the next place and you're grinding so that you're the right level when you get there. And it's very much that in many ways.
I think something that's also interesting, and that I feel a little bit of apprehension about is I know Dorlen's a big talker. Like, he says a lot of stupid things and tries to like instigate some things. But I also feel like all of the NPCs and the players are so different. Even Maggie and Dermot, like, they kind of get sort of the same vibe, but with different flavor. But like, they're so different and so interesting that I just want to spend my time talking to everyone.
Yes.
Like, fuck the game and everything else. Like, I just want to have one-on-ones with every single person, which is, well, it's great, I think. It's to want to do that and have that drive, because I want to see what happens when like Kaeko and Dorlen go out one-on-one for a beer and see how shit they get into, because that's just good. Something's going to blow up. We just know something's going to do that.
I think that. Well, do you want to take more time next episode in the caravan?
Well, part of the thing that I think might be a problem with that, though, is over half of those are you, the person running it. So even if it was like at a tabletop game, like, they're all interesting, and if everyone else feels the same way and wants to have like kind of those growing interactions,
well, just try to have 3-way conversations.
True.
Like, you don't have to monopolize an NPC. You can go and be like I so long as it is better for me always. Don't plan your role playing like this. It's always better for me if people have very dissimilar voices. Like, if you are, because I mean, if you don't use voices in your game, don't stress about that. But for example, if you're going up to Dermot kind of has a higher pitched voice and has a bit of a nervous stutter, and you're like, you're talking to Maggie, you know, like, it's very easy for me to have a 4-way conversation as 2 people. But when you get like Irvin and
Xarria and Valis.
Well, yeah, keeping the 2 drow sounding different than each other has been a
I can tell. It is easy to tell. It's very easy to tell.
Xarriad's very in his nose.
Yeah, he's very full of himself.
He's my Raceland Majer voice. Come with me now, brother, as I don the red robes of
something or other.
I'm so excited for Dragonlance.
The point that I tried to make is,
Chris, you're going to end up as one of the
trying to monopolizing so much of your time when other people also want your time to explore these things.
It's our time.
But
yeah, no. If you overdo it, I'll let you know. Like, that's just the thing, right? Like, you just trust me. I mean, be kind to the rest of the cast. Like, don't overdo it if you know you're overdoing it. But like, have fun.
I have a quick loop around point. I just wanted to loop back to saying that, like, we kind of shat on this chapter during the module panel.
Just a big old, we took a big old chapter 2 on chapter 2.
But I think the reason I feel that I think this is a bad chapter is not necessarily from an enjoyment side, because you're right, there's a lot of opportunity for role play. I think it can, like, the right group would really, really enjoy this, and I think we do as well. I think we all just kind of stifled ourselves due to the medium in which we play. But I think, like I said, I think of modules as intros to D&Ding, like, because I didn't run modules until Candlekeep. It was the first time I ever encountered modules. So
you think of them as paint by numbers rather than actual art.
And so in my head, like, a module, it can be made bigger. Obviously, you've proven that, but I feel like a module should, at its core, be for someone who has never run a game before and can take it with a table of brand new people and go. And this, especially chapter 2, to a table that isn't really sure what they're doing, may not have a lot of fun with it. And I think that's my hindrance. Like, that's why
I feel that it is kind of grindy.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, if you are more of an old school D&D player, like, you really love the combat, you love the grind, you probably are maybe maximized, or, you know, I think you probably have fun with it. Like, this is if you're playing, like, with a bunch of maps and stuff like that, and it's less of a, like, I think that chapter 2 is a great grindhouse.
Yeah.
And there are some, like, encounters that y'all didn't have that are not grindy. Like, there's a couple where you just meet some people and you have a chat, but I was gonna save those for the second half. Fair. Anyway. But let's talk about the other part of this, the Emerald Loop, the caravan stop, the part that was actually fun.
Yes.
So,
well, I think the chapter 2, the beginning part was fun, like fun in the sense that it was kind of the feeling of starting the adventure. Then it kind of got grindy, and then you kind of get this nice break for the Emerald Loop, which was so cool. Like, this forest, so cool. The Emerald Loop, just like this tree.
Was that in Critical Role? Did they have that? Did they go there in season 2?
No, they did not. Okay. No, they did not. That is something new.
Unique. I like it.
At least I think so. I'm getting campaigns mixed together in my head because I'm listening through Vox Machina right now, so they might have, but it was early-ish.
Do you want to hear some weird things about the caravan?
Depends. Yes. Are we going to spend more time in it, and will we discover them in game?
I'll tell you a couple of things that struck me as weird that will not apply to you. So there's a cute little thing, a couple cute things you can do with, like, the big horizon-back tortoise and the goblins that live on it. It's not really much of a thing aside from that you can go and, like, just interact with them, and they're a family of goblins. Some of them are basically like I'm trying to think of the character, but like buck-toothed kids type of thing, like, hello, I'm a goblin. Type of, you know, it's cute. There's an ox corral where they're set. Well, I've had enough corralling, thanks to Deadlands. But so there's, like, a bunch of oxen nearby, and there's specifically, like, they're there, and there's a specific line that says they're usually docile, but a character who tries to spook them into making a sudden noise can make a check causing them to stampede.
Nah.
What?
Whoops.
And it's like the ruckus creates enough distraction that allows one or more of the characters to search a location without being seen by the others in the caravan stop. But there's not. Is there something there's nothing I missed, right? Like, it's only 2 pages. So I guess that could be used if you wanted to rob the merchants of their rope and healer's kits. Oh, they do have potions of healing. That's right. You could get potions of healing from the merchants. But that's just kind of weird. It's just a weird little add-on where the oxen can be harassed. And here are the rules for it. Really? Just seemed kind of weird to me. Just out of nowhere, considering that the only other things you could do is return a bunch of stuff, get, like, talk to NPCs at the bonfire, buy some food, and, like, just kind of hang out. Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, like, you go to Coachella and it's like, hey, So if your players want to distribute bad drugs, and they distribute them at this place, like
Specifically.
the you know the millennials riot enough that you can go and like beat up Coldplay without anybody noticing.
Oh,
Actually, you know what? That's a pretty good plot.
yeah.
Again, though, I think that is how the players at that table what they might have done, and him kind of being like, oh, if they do this, like my players might have done, this could happen, kind of thing, right? So, because it's not like every single table is going to have someone who does that, but I think it definitely could have been something for a critical role, just like, I'm just going to be a little shit disturber, right?
I can see that.
And that's what I want to do.
It's just such a but given that this chapter
It's very specific.
It's very specific, and it's very sparse besides that, where it's like, oh,
yeah, fair.
Like there wasn't like a place where it's like, oh yes, you can go wrestle moorbounders for fun type of thing, right? Like for like a physical character, it's all like, if you are a shithead, this is the shithead thing. And it's like, what about, okay, cool. Chris, what were you gonna say?
Well, Buddy mentioned in the chat, actually, maybe the corral is an opportunity for if we didn't have the vestige to try and steal it from the rival party.
Oh, yeah, you know what?
Use like that. I was like, oh, that's a nice
that
idea.
That's smart, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Depending on the party, but yeah, good idea.
That's fair, because I will say that if somebody gets on to me for that, I didn't read the hostile rivals stuff very in depth because why it doesn't matter, it doesn't apply to me. But so characters can't sneak up on the rivals on the open road. If the rivals are camping, you'll have to sneak in. Xarria detects them. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, that probably is why. That's probably just me not reading between the lines right there. So yeah, good point. Sorry for.
I mean, we're not the party that would, like, you wouldn't have to think about that for our party. So like you wouldn't, like, we wouldn't expect you to necessarily have to think about all the other things, because we're not that kind of party right now. So for you as a dungeon master, you don't have to think about what are the 20 ways my
and that kind of ties into, I know we had a couple people ask again about, like, what do you do if your players don't get the vestige? And I feel like possibly having someone present the opportunity to steal it back from them is a bit of an incentive.
It is. You know what I would do if the characters didn't get the vestige? We talked about this in the original, where you would find out that, like, a bounty's been put out on them by some syndicate or bad people, etc., who just want like a big magic item. Have some NPCs trigger the oxen stampede, because then you can get like a fight or a chase or something right in the middle of the caravan, right, where y'all can come out as the good guys rescuing them, or maybe even heightened tensions, because then it becomes this whole like, hey, you're the ones who did the oxen thing, aren't you? Well, no, it's these other guys. Yeah, but you're in on it with them. Why are you so concerned about what we won fair and square? You know.
Yeah.
So you can also, like, there are a couple of other ways to get it from them as well. Like, you're all sitting around a table together, or you're sitting around a campfire together, eating basically a poke bowl made by the Drow Scout. The merchants are selling like healer's kits, which means that there's probably some what's the term I'm thinking of? Expectorate? No, that's spit. Basically, in a healer's kit, there is bound to be something that's going to make you sick to your stomach, either like a laxative or an
emetic.
Emetic, yeah.
I guess, because antiemetic is like to not puke, so I would say emetic.
That's fair. Puke. So someone's going to put the right response somewhere.
Probably, I don't know.
But basically, you could drug their food to make them sick and steal it from them while they're puking. Like, there are lots of like little fun ways to get involved there. Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed the Emerald Loop. And I look forward to dealing with it a little more. The Emerald Loop actually brought a question up from, who posted that? Was from Random Equinox, wasn't it? For Kelly and Robin, looking for more insight into Bodhi. Was the original plan as part of Kaeko's backstory? Yes, absolutely. From day 2, probably, once you decided to play Kaeko, you decided that he was married. Or no, Yeah, she says she was married.
Yes, I wanted her to be a bard, but I was like, yeah, she's gonna be flirtatious, but I don't want her to be like the horny bard that sleeps around. She actually has like a family that she wants to like go back to, kind of thing. I was like, I want to be a little bit different from the usual like horny bard trope. So I wanted her to be in a very committed relationship. I'm like, yeah, she's married. She could travel for work, kind of thing, to that. And oh, she's from Xarria, which, oh my gosh, I apologize for the like 5 minutes it took.
I edited it out of the YouTube version, so no one knows.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And then,
but yeah, I put that on there.
But like, you also like, I think they have like an agreement or something like that, so that if you ever did want to play horny bard on the road, it is not like a huge bad thing. So like having an understanding marriage is probably a good thing for that. Was he always a tiefling? I can't remember.
Yes. I said tiefling because the Xarria is the city of beasts. So I was like,
that's fair.
He is a tiefling. He's gonna be a shopkeeper. We discussed his career because you're like, oh, I don't want to give a shopkeeper that will give discounts because that people will like accuse me for cheating by giving my players.
It was mostly just I didn't want to give you an unfair advantage just because of a character choice.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, yeah, no, you can totally have him as a merchant. He'll be able to get you stuff at market value or slightly higher. And in the end, you're investing the money more than anything.
Exactly. It's the retirement fund.
Right. And I love that idea. The whole like, well, no, I'm going to charge you more. You're adventuring. I can protect the money better than you can.
Yeah.
In the end, right? I'll go invest it in insurance or something like that. And, in the end, we'll be millionaires.
Exactly.
How much of his personality and mannerisms were planned in advance as opposed to thrown together as last minute inspiration? So you told me that you wanted him to have my Tom Ellis accent.
Yes, I specifically requested. That's how I got to tiefling. Because you're like, oh, what does he sound like? Well, I'm like, oh, Kaeko has a fancy British accent. I'm like, she learned it from her husband because she wanted to get rid of her orc, Goliath, which
and you didn't want my Hugh Grant, you wanted the Tom Ellis.
No, I wanted the Tom Ellis, and I was like, well, okay, if we're gonna go into that accent, well, tiefling sounds good.
And then like a lot of his personality, like from the role playing, like an NPC side of it, came from trying to figure out what this dude was named, because I rolled up his stats just to see what I'd get. His stats are better than Kaeko's. It's hilarious. But we were having trouble naming him, and then I think we looked at a couple generators, and like Bodhi came up as a possibility, or it popped into my head because of all of the tiefling names are like justice and like emancipation and like all of these like very like highfalutin words, and I'm like, okay, how about a husband named I'm gonna mess up the word, but Bodhisattva, right? But he goes by Bodhi, like like the guy from Point Break, because his parents were hippies, so they named him something really stupid.
It does have such a Chad vibe to it, and it made me like, when I heard his name was Bodhi, I was like, yes.
Yeah, because you're all about the Chads.
Oh, the Chads, the Chazzes. It's
Chaz, Charles in charge. Yeah. So yeah, there was that, and then I mean, the role playing was just kind of like, oh well, how would someone role play if they haven't seen their lover in months? How would someone role play with someone they genuinely care about? It's easy. I've been in a lot of long distance relationships. You just kind of turn that part of your brain back on, and it's super easy. And then just say that, oh, you're in front of people, so take some of it out. But yeah, what was there anything else about that experience that you thought was fun?
Like the caravan?
Yeah.
Or the husband? Or I didn't know what you were talking about.
Well, because
I thought it was kind of fun, like having him have met some of us. And like having that
part was improvised. We hadn't actually worked out beforehand.
Yeah, we hadn't worked that out before. That was improvised, 100%.
No, yeah, which I think, like, because I had originally been like, oh, okay, we're gonna get introduced to this guy, but then you were like, oh no, you've met, and it's like, oh, okay, now we got to play what was their relationship? What have they been before?
And actually,
he has a nickname for Sabina, right? Like,
I made that decision off of your reaction to him.
Yeah.
Because you did kind of an oh god eye roll, and I'm like, that's the kind of reaction that someone gives someone they know.
Yes, that they are very good friends with and love very much.
Right? You wouldn't like if someone randomly, like if one of your friends showed up and then like their partner who you'd never met just showed up and like started like glomping all over them. Yeah. I doubt that's the reaction you would give. You'd probably do a whole like forced smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I'm like, oh, well, they obviously know each other. And then Xarria was like an easy, like, oh hi, we were tieflings. We obviously know each other, because we're tieflings, Bob the tiefling. Of course,
right?
Bob
Jeez.
Oh, from Tieflingville.
Oh,
and then
God, how's he
Dorlen was
doing?
the obvious choice to not know him.
Yeah.
I think as soon as mentioned that he was there, I was just like, he's here? Let's go. I want to meet him.
That's right. And Chris also said, oh, I didn't know that you were married. So that was, and I think that's really important to like have characters that have backstories that come up into play. Like people travel, people mill around. And anybody who argues with you, the world's a really small place. Then like there have been times where I've ended up in the same airport as someone and just bumped into them and been like, what the hell? Like, where are you? What? I had to loan someone. I had to load a very, very close friend of mine like $300 in an airport that we were both physically in at the same time by accident because they had to rebook their ticket, but it was in Japan, so they only would accept cash.
Oh my god!
And it just turned out that I was in the same airport in Osaka, and they were like, "Oh, can you wire me some money?" Like they called me as an emergency, and I'm like, well, "What? Where are you?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm in the Osaka airport." And I'm like, "Okay, hold on, let me call you back." And I left security, walked around, walked up behind her, and was like, "How much money you need?"
Oh my God.
She's like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "I'm Batman." And then I solved it with money.
As you solved, I was gonna say, because you're Batman.
As you're Batman. But no, it's interesting because up until Kaeko, I don't think I've ever had like a backstory as fleshed out as Kaeko, and like with an NPC as fleshed out as Bodhi was. So it's kind of an interesting thing because a lot about this Netherdeep campaign, I've had a very clear image about Kaeko and her backstory and timeline. So that's when, because I was like, oh, she's known Bodhi for 6 years. They got married a year ago, so she knows him for 7 years. So I was like, okay, if they got married a year ago and she's been traveling for a year-ish, it's like, okay, she probably popped in every once in a while because I don't think she would go a full year necessarily if she stayed in Shorecast. Yeah.
Spend those honeymooning times away from each other like that.
Yeah.
It's like the 1940s.
Strengthens the marriage.
But the Acorn sisters were great.
Yeah. I loved that interaction with Galsariad and Xarria.
Oh,
was
so
one of my favorites I've been in. It was so good.
I think that it's very important when you're running this module to like there are some characters that have like definitive weaknesses built into their character, like Irvin being kind of a little awkward and but also being like a party animal, like that kind of covers it up by drinking. The awkward covers it up by drinking, that being a party animal. And that Io is basically Korra from Legend of Korra, like point blank. She's like short-tempered but very direct and like positive. But like Galsariad is just kind of like written as a prick. Like it's like, oh, he's very snotty and very like bookish. Give him something to fanboy about. Give him like a little weakness, like that isn't just, oh, he's a jerk. Like give him something that kind of like gives you a little like,
Well, and I liked that his was like, yeah, sure, they're like pretty ladies, but it felt more like these are powerful natural beings, which
that I've read about.
Yeah. And it kind of caught me off guard of like, oh, I guess he would be interested in this, right?
Well,
I like that.
I never actually, I honestly assumed that Galsariad is asexual, like, or definitely aromantic from the way that he's written. Like he's definitely aro. He doesn't give a crap if it's not a book. Like if he is sexual, it's sapiosexual, right?
Yeah.
And the same with. I hadn't actually considered Maggie that way, but Maggie's incredibly like mentally focused as well, and like really getting into the psychology of the NPCs can be very useful to you as a storyteller, or dungeon master, however you want to lay it down. So yeah, let's see. Now that Dazed Apricot asks, now that we've done 2 chapters, would anyone change their class or race, or are you happy with what you chose?
we actually talked a little bit about that, about me changing some of my features because I had misread some of them, or I didn't know one was available, but we ended up sticking with it because I think it fits the character better, and I think it's going to become useful in the, without any spoilers. I think it's favorite enemy versus favorite foe.
Yeah.
I would, because I like the idea of favorite enemy. It isn't as useful, and it kind of weirds me out that instead of just, giving you some kind of bonus in fighting your specific favorite enemy, they were like, nah, here's watered down hunter's mark.
So what I usually do with favorite enemies as well is add a narrative component to it. Like when give them like opportunities, like increase their passive perceptions in your head too. Like if they don't quite meet the passive perception to notice a favorite enemy, round up in your head. Be like, okay, you needed an 18, you only have a 17. You know what? Yeah, it smells like orc. Or you notice like a little, like give them that narrative boost to make them cool. Like the whole point of being a ranger is you're supposed to be Aragorn, right? Like that is the ideal. You're Aragorn and or Legolas, depending on the moments in the movie, and really like lean into that.
Yeah.
But when you are building for a module, and you have someone who wants to play a ranger or something with very specific things that are going to occur, like don't let your players take favorite enemy on something that will not occur in the module. It is absolutely okay to say, Christa, don't take dragons, or
Sounds
Christa,
good.
don't take constructs, like, or maybe even point blank, like I did. Okay, here's a minor spoiler. Take aberrations.
Well, and that's what was so funny is
everything's a damn aberration.
Well, you gave us the, like, we looked at the module and was like, okay, it's this kind of like underworld kind of watery thing, and I was like, okay, well, what do I think would fit? I think aberrations is really interesting, especially because she loves the natural world. So what is unnatural? And I like the idea of aberrations being unnatural, and that's what she is against and spends her time fighting. And so especially being from a kind of wasteland type area, and so I liked that. But then I had read favorite foe and I was like, oh, is this going to be better? Are people going to get all up on me if I don't take the more like strategically advantageous option, especially after getting so razzed for not taking hunter's mark?
Oh, yeah.
By everybody. But then so I brought that up, and so we said, oh well, let's take a look, and we were like, well, there's fiends and there's this kind of thing, and then Kelly started looking. It was like, no, keep aberrations. Keep
aberrations, because I had forgotten that like damn near everything in the Netherdeep is an aberration. The only other thing I was like, take humans or like humanoid things to kill the other party.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I had considered humans because I liked this idea of like, it hasn't really played out too much in her, but like whenever we fought animals, she is instantly like, don't fight them. It's fine. They're just scared. Help them. Animal friendship, animal friendship, animal friendship. But as soon as we come up against a humanoid, she's like, fuck you. You can die.
It's the feet away.
Spice.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, well, animals have never hurt me, but people have hurt me a lot, so screw them. They made a choice to be cruel. That animal didn't, and so she leans into that. So I had considered taking humanoids and taking humans and I don't know, elves or something, but
just drow in particular, just Galsariad. Favorite enemy,
yes,
Galsariad.
Specifically, a favorite enemy, Galsariad.
So you can play around with those like social checks with them to mess with them.
Exactly. And yes, Traz, if Dax dies, I will become John Wick.
Now, that is something that I want to touch on real quick, just to make sure that it is stated. So obviously, if a character has a pet in a game, I say hands off. Like, so long as they're not trying to use it in a strategic way to be like, oh no, we can only destroy the One Ring by putting it into lava. But my ferret's invincible. The DM said, so we'll tie it around the ferret's neck and it'll run it in. No, obviously the ferret is fair game then. Just like in combat, Dax is fair game. Dax counts as part of your hit points for my mental state.
Yeah. Like, well, he has almost as many hit points as I do.
Right. And if like, to be fair, I'm gonna hurt him. Luckily, he's an animal spirit, so the way that we're going, the way we'll play it is he just is. How much does it take for you to summon him back?
I think it's the same as summon familiar, so I think it's an hour.
And like 50 gold or 100 gold or something like that. Like
something.
Okay, cool.
Like that.
So if he gets really badly injured, he just will have to be specially recuperated.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not going to have him discorporate because that's not how we're playing him as. We're playing him as like a living being.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted him for color purposes to be a living being, and I mean, if he dies, like, I mean, that is something that we can tackle where we are and see where we're at and see what would make sense.
Turned out that Dax was a girl, and now there's a little Moorbounder kitten there.
Oh, yay!
The circle of life.
Ice pudding.
Oh, rice pudding.
We left them alone for 2
Oh my god,
seconds.
amazing. Yeah.
Like those raccoons in front of my house this morning.
This morning, Robin couldn't leave for work because the raccoons were romanticizing on her alley or her sidewalk.
Right outside my door.
Join our Discord and go see pictures.
Yep, in our NSFW chat.
Better be NSFW.
It's NSFW. I did like that you joked in the Dork Tales like group chat, being like, "This is not safe for work."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This needs to be tagged not safe for work.
That's true.
Yes.
So and you looked up we were talking about the changes in Tasha's. So yeah, is there anything else about chapter 2 y'all think we should talk about or touch on?
Well, did anyone else want to think about changing their character? I was the only one to speak about
I'll
that.
jump in. I think if Xarria was completely useless the way I built her, perhaps. But I did build just a character. I didn't build a character for the module. I built what I wanted to play. And I built her the way that I wanted to play her. So I don't think, unless it was like, oh my god, I can't do anything ever. I'm having no fun playing this character. But yeah.
Are you having fun playing her?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good.
But I'm just trying to get at that I didn't build her to suit the module. I just built her because that's what I wanted to play. That's what I wanted to experience.
Well, and I feel like if we hadn't befriended the rivals and the rivals hadn't come with us, you might have a different experience, because like I feel like a lot of Xarria's stuff has been the flirtation with Irvan and like
So far,
working with Dorlen and having those like NPC
You guys
interactions.
keep bringing up this Irvan fellow. Have I not met him?
Irwin.
Sorry,
Irwin.
Keith
Irvin.
Irvin. Keith Irvin.
Irvin.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, is it
And
Irwin?
it
It's
would.
Irwin, isn't it? Yeah.
And it would
It's
have been a
Irvin.
different experience
It's
just because I wouldn't be
Irvan.
there to
It's Irvin.
talk with. But I
Irvan?
would definitely have figured something else
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's very fair.
Irwin.
I love Kaeko so much. She's one of the first. It's funny because when I first started with Dork Tales and I built Vistra, I definitely looked on like websites like RPG to build the most like not min-max but optimized. I built an optimized character for Vistra, and now with Kaeko, I'm just like Goliath and Bard. Fuck it, those two things don't typically go together, and I love it. I love having a slightly non-optimized character for more flavor, because I just love the flavor that Kaeko has. She's just a yummy
You gotta
flavor.
go with that.
I find it so weird nowadays, like seeing like, you know, fresh-faced babies picking up D&D and being like, I'm playing this incredibly obscure weird race with this very strange homebrewed thingy, and I'm like, play a human fighter, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, you gotta put your hours in. What are you doing?
No,
Get out of the
everybody's-
It's my
You
one
gotta be-
gatekeepy. It's my one.
You gotta
thing
be
that I
special
get
from day one. And
yeah.
it's always an Aarakocra too. It's always an Aarakocra.
No,
They
it's
won't-
tieflings. It's all the gay tieflings.
Well, that's fine.
They're a standard race, like core in there.
They are
right?
now, yeah.
They are
yeah.
now. Thank God.
Mhm.
Like they're
The number of people that insisted on playing them before they were a core race.
No, like
Oh,
here's
okay.
something you might not know. Tieflings weren't core. The core races, Dragonborn weren't core too for the longest time. It was
No.
humans, half elves, elves, dwarves, gnomes, and halflings, and that was about it, right?
Yeah, you'd get
Fourth
random.
edition.
Oh, and half orcs.
Yeah.
Like fourth edition for
Fourth
that.
editions when Dragonborns. There were two
Yeah.
things in fourth edition in the classes and races that I love. One of them survived, and that's Dragonborn. The other one is the Warlord class, which didn't survive, and I'm sad about it. I gotta rewrite that thing.
But I think 4th edition is when they took a tiefling and made it core, and I think 4th also took away gnome, and 5th edition brought it back from the core book.
Wasn't gnome
I thought it was
like
that.
a subset of halfling in 4th edition?
No, I think they. I'm pretty sure gnome was core, and that 4th edition they got rid of gnome and brought the tiefling in the core book.
Hold on.
There was a whole flash video about it. I actually thought it was kind of funny because the gnome was like, "I'm a monster. I can't wait to tell my mom."
What the
Oh,
hell?
it was. I thought it was good.
What the hell? Wow,
I'll see if I can find it and post it in the Discord.
Yeah, please do, because like I'm curious about. Oh yeah, because they also added a ladder, didn't they? A ladrin.
I was gonna say a ladder. What's
Yeah,
a
they do.
ladder
It's a
class?
sentient ladder.
Step ladder.
Oh,
what are
God.
you doing?
Oh my
Ellie,
god.
for the next campaign, I want to play a ladder, please.
Okay,
my
no,
God.
you have to play a step ladder because you're not my real ladder.
Okay, fine. I'll be your step ladder.
So
Step
Oh,
on me,
no.
ladder.
Oh no,
Oh,
Chris, you're
no.
right. So Player's Handbook 1 was halfling, half elf, elf, human, dwarf, dragonborn, tiefling, and eladrin. And then-
Wasn't like very first edition you were like wizard fighter elf?
Oh, I'm talking about 4th edition Player's Handbook
Sorry,
1.
I'm thinking
So
like
yes, you're
OG.
right though, and in the first edition your XP was your gold. So technically,
Yeah.
if you started with enough gold, it was like winning Monopoly or like real life.
Capitalism the gay.
Well,
Player's Handbook 2 was half orc, shifter, gnome, Goliath, and diva or deva, even though it's spelled diva.
Oh.
Player's Handbook 3 was Minotaur, Shardmind, which just sounds like if you've had a drink at the table, it's just gonna my Shardmind.
oh my god.
Oh, no.
Githrazai, and Wilden. And then
I forgot about the Gith.
yeah, and then Eberron added changelings, a different type of changelings, Kalishtar, and Warforged, which Warforged are dope. So I don't
Yeah.
see like
I love
Warforged
them.
need to be in more things, to be honest. They're great.
I know. I want to
Great.
play one. I want to. Ow! That my knee just cracked real bad there.
That's
Oof,
fine.
that was a
You'll get
sound.
another one.
Yeah.
I think we need an Oops All Warforged game.
Oops,
Yeah.
all
Oh my
Warforged.
God.
God. Then they combine into one singular
Yes.
Warforged.
Yes.
Yes. This is Voltron, the game.
Yes. This
Transform.
is-
Transform to form Netherdeep.
Actually, no, I guess it's more like the Transformers, like what's his name, who had the tape deck and had all the mini machines that would pop out of him.
Oh yeah. Well, be-
Shockwave? Where's
Something like that.
Christopher?
Be more than meets
Christopher.
the eye. So yeah,
Pretty sure I-
that's kind of how I'm feeling about chapter 2. Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
Chris, did you say would you stick with Dorlen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's actually funny. I had an original concept that we touched on a little bit in I think the last How They Do or session 0, and that was made both Dorlen and that concept were made from like rolling randomly in the I think it was the Explorer's Guide to Wildmont, like just being like, all right, like let's just do something different, see what happens. And we didn't do that concept, but I don't think I would have had as much fun with Dorlen. Dorlen's just been a hoot because, like, I mean, he's got some pretty good stats, and the armor artificer is pretty fun, but he's definitely, I think, going to be getting in the most trouble in situations he can't handle because like there's no way you're going to be able to stop him from touching all the things, and I think that's just going to be fun and a good way to. He's gonna make a lot of mistakes.
Just a few.
Yeah.
So I've really been enjoying playing him, and also the dynamics with him and the rest of the party, like because he might not seem it, but he's very smart, not so wise. And then we've got Sabina here, who's quite reserved, unlike a lot of the other party, and then we've got Xarria, who is the wise one in the group, and then we've got good old Kaeko, my comrade in arms. And then
It is-
and then there's Valis too, but
Yeah.
who knows what his deal is.
It's
Oh,
interesting playing
nobody
a
listens
very
to Dad.
it's kind of fun playing a very like quiet, especially like coming from Isaac, and I tend to play very like boisterous, obnoxious characters because I am myself boisterous and obnoxious. So it's kind of been nice to sort of sit back and just kind of play quiet, and I like putting in my little 2 cents of like what Sabina's doing. I feel like a lot of shots are like everything, it's like a close-up conversation between 2 people and then pulls back and you just see Sabina and Dax doing something ridiculous in the background, and then it cuts back into the conversation. Like,
Yeah.
That's
That's
pretty
awesome.
good. All right. So is there any other questions that we have about chapter 2?
I don't think so.
And okay, so yeah, I suppose that like really chapter 2 is a bit of an awkward gap. So be prepared for that. If you're going to run this, I would strongly suggest that you see if there's anything from your characters' backstories you can tie in. If they have anything in their backstories, traveling NPCs are a great thing to drop at the Emerald Loop. If they're traveling with the rivals, you could easily have, I mean, there are lots of soldiers here. So if you needed to build camaraderie, you could easily have extensions of some of the contests that existed in the first chapter, arm wrestling contests. Watch Aliens. If you want a good, hey, a bunch of Marines hanging out kind of vibe, you can even have a scene where like, I don't know, Irvin plays the knife game, you know, the
He would.
because yeah, he gets drunk and he plays the knife game with Xarria's hand or something, right?
Ao's
gosh.
doing like push-ups in the background and finds like a tree to do pull-ups
Yeah.
on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's Perez. She is absolutely
Oh God, I
Perez.
love Perez.
Do you know what she's doing now?
Oh no.
So she quit acting. She runs a lingerie shop specifically for women with large
What? Nice.
Amazing.
She's a specialty lingerie / bra sales person now. Very, very, very lovely.
I'll have to look this
lovely
up.
career change, really. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buddy has a question.
Buddy has a question. What do you want to do with Valis? Or am I happy with him?
Mm.
So I think that Valis is my one. Like, I think that Valis's characterization is coming through pretty well, because the party teamed up with the other 5. It's a little much to keep having him do stuff in every scene. So I'm hoping to split groups up a little bit. There's some conflict stuff coming up in the future where I'm going to separate the parties again for a little bit, just for like, oh, there's trouble. You guys go here. You guys go here, because you're already like 2 functioning teams, right? So that would make more logical sense. And then that would give him more time. I'd love to give Valis some more time to just interact with the PCs in basically like campfire scenes. And I think, and tell me if I am wrong, please, but I think I've planted a few seeds of mystery for the players at least.
Yes, I want to dig into Valis more, and I think I am loving having the interactions with the other party, and I think it's very integral, but I would like a bit, a little bit of breathing room from the other party, because
Bazzoxan will be that, because there's some stuff going on in Bazzoxan that needs your immediate attention. I mean, literally, the next game that we're running. So here's a question: should I call the next game Bazzoxan, or should I call it the subheading, which is No Time for Pleasantries?
I like that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
like
better.
that one.
Especially because I feel like we've been like the interactions with the NPCs is like getting to know them, and it's that very like, oh, I'm getting to know you, I'm getting to know this person. Whereas I feel like conversation with Valis will be a lot more, and they have been a lot more, this is a person I know. And I think now that the game is going, I think getting deeper into that is going to be more important.
Okay. Is there anything that you want me to change? Is there anything about the flow of the narrative so far that you'd like me to adjust, or anything that, like, besides just taking a bit more time? Like, is there anything that you all want?
This has been good so far for me.
And by the way, DMs, if you're new to this, do this. Like, check in from time to time and be like, is everything going well? Is there anything you wish you had a little more of? It is not going to hurt anyone's feelings to say, if you do it the right way, to say, cool, you all are enjoying yourselves, right? Is there anything that you're not enjoying? Or is there anything you want extra helpings of?
Yeah.
See, that one right there, you cannot get offended by someone saying that they loved your cooking enough they want more mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
right?
Some mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have more mashed potatoes, but like, is there anything in this that you want more of aside from just character time?
I think otherwise, yeah, we're really, really good.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think the breakdown's been really good with how much time is devoted to each thing.
Mhm.
I think that's been good.
I want, so I and then as a DM, it is totally fine for you to go through and not give marching orders necessarily, but like, if I were to ask the same thing of y'all, I think you're all doing pretty well. I think that I want Xarria to go a little nuts. Like I want, like, Caitlan, you specifically said that you're holding back. Let's give it a go. Let's see where you can go with this. And I want more. I want to get inside a Dorlen in particular in a non-silly way. I want to get underneath that facade. Like I want the deep, surprisingly deep conversation soon. I think that's going to be happening soon. I think they'll be good.
Yeah.
You know his background, so
I do know his background, and I want to include that more.
Well, and something that you've done is like, and this is, I think, a good note for other DMs is you've, I don't know, I assume you messaged other people as well, but like messaged me and said, hey, is there any scene that you want out of game tonight? Like, and I think that is awesome, especially when it's something like this, when there's so many opportunities. And so like, I've told Kelly that like I really want to interact with Xarria more. Like I think that like her connection to him, and I've explained like this is why I want to do that, and I think it's very fun that like Sabina wants to talk to him and but like having that, like, again, I don't necessarily want to bring that up in game to dominate time, but the fact that Kelly said, okay, what do you want? I can voice, this is what I want. And then that space can be made by everybody while Kelly's, putting everybody's figures around and making sure everybody has time.
Well, and if you have the option at the table, like put your wants on Post-it notes.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons doesn't really have this as a mechanic, but some of the other games we run on the channel in the Chronicles of Darkness system have these things called aspirations on characters. They use a completely different experience system, but basically you get 3 aspirations, 2 short-term and a long-term for a character. When you fulfill one, you get some basically experience for nice and easy terms. Like they can't be things that are mechanical in nature. It's like, I don't know, go buy a new sword to replace my broken one. Go have that conversation with Xarria that I've been avoiding. Like, or it can be things like so like a mechanical thing would be like get badly injured in a fight. Could be one, or lose a fight, but D&D makes that a little more difficult. And then when you complete one at the end of the session, you get a new one, right? So, because you always have stuff on your to-do list in real life.
I think it's also really important to note about them that it's not something that your character wants. It's what you want your character or to have happen. So if your character is not the type to ask out someone they have a crush on, like getting into that thing to like try and to fail at asking it out, or to try and put them into a situation that they wouldn't necessarily want to be in. So it's a great way even to kind of get out of the character's view a little bit and look at the story and be like, hey, what helps this along? What makes the story more interesting, even if it's not something necessarily in character.
That's like playing to lose. We talked a bit about that over the weekend, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's something that you should really be looking into, because there are a lot of things in characters that you might want. There's a lot of people who say that like, oh, that's what my character would do. No, your character is a construct that you've created. You are behind the wheel. Okay. Regardless, like, and here is the thing: when someone says that's what my character would do, or my character would only do this, they're thinking very myopically. They're thinking very, very shortly, because there are things that I would do in real life that I don't even know I would do until I do them. Okay. How many times have you seen somebody who like steps into an argument that they're not a part of, or goes and like who completely goes against what they think is their nature? Like the quiet person who like steps into a bar fight, or the incredibly generous person who doesn't give to someone who's begging on the street. Like, people do stuff that contradicts their natures all the time. You are in control. and you can play that up. You can also ask for some help playing that up. You're like, exactly what Christa was saying. Like, if you are playing a Shire character, you're like, you tell your dungeon master that you want to have this type of encounter, like be it like, you know, I want to go and you know, flirt with somebody, but I'm not sure how. That will be something that you know, you can work out together.
Totally. Yeah, there's a reason that, like, I know one of our first big fights in Deadlands, my character got really wrecked, and Millie's character was trying to heal me, and as she went to roll, I was like, double ones, double ones, double ones, double ones, double ones, and she rolled them and I almost died, but it was like, no, this character would not do well. Like, she needs to roll bad, otherwise it doesn't make any sense for the story. So like, please fail, it's so much better if you fail, and you got to play like that sometimes. Like, sometimes you want a nat one. It's so, and honestly, like, that has made my, like, I know Robin has talked about this as well, of like, sometimes bad rolls put you in a bad mood.
True.
and yep. but if you go into it being like, I'm stoked for the twos, and I'm stoked for the failures of rolls, and I'm stoked for the low damage, because that just means there'll be more character development down the road. I think that leaning into that is huge for enjoyment.
Love those critical fails. Like those critical fails, eating the pie and choking on it. Like,
oh my God,
that was just so much fun.
Yes, so many critical fails. I love it. You really got to go for it. Yeah. Thank you, Ouroboros.
Thank you very much.
We like doing them too.
If you have any last questions, drop them in there. But besides that, I think that's chapter 2. I'm excited to get back into Bazzoxan, and having no time for pleasantries.
And everybody can get ready to roll for panic attack.
Oh my God, I love
What is
that.
What is that?
That's
Roll for
amazing.
panic attack. It's from Dimension 20, like the very first season.
Oh, okay.
One of the character has
it's a sticker.
Oh yes, it's a sticker on my.
I thought it was a product you were drinking. I'm like, are you sure you should have that? You're pretty tired.
It's energy drink. No, I also bihexual.
Oh, beautiful.
I love that.
And I have a very I have a very, very sweet sword that says, you are worth more than what you can give to other people. You deserve love too. And I say that to all of you and everyone out in the stream as a reminder, because I feel like we don't always remember that, especially some of us who like to run a lot of games to make sure everybody's happy. Not naming names.
It's my job. It's what I do for a living, folks. Like, I love it.
You did this before you got paid.
This is why I'm getting paid now. Speaking of which, so thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I'll try my best to answer them. And join the Discord, which is totally free. You know what's not free?
Living,
food, my life, things like that. So consider joining the Patreon at patreon.com/dorktales. Like such wonderful people as my divine producer DM Michael Gray, my demonic producers Soul Omen and Precarious, my princes of the Patreon, Taryn, Buddy, Aeolus, Trizelta, Cubby Gummy, and Amberthist. They're all wonderful people, and there might be some more new ones from the last couple days after Dork Tales Expo. A lot of new VIP tier people, but like, yeah, so it'd be fantastic to get you over there. We just actually surpassed our goal of 75 patrons, which means that we have announced a new campaign that is going to be launching. It's going to be a Patreon exclusive, or Patreon Premier Access exclusive. For a while, and that is going to be a fantastic little game. I might as well say it here because you can find it other places too, but Christa is actually going to be running a game of Strixhaven where I actually get to play. I get to roll dice and get really cranky about my results because I get so cranky when I fail.
Oh no.
See, you need to play to lose. Play to lose.
Yeah, play to lose.
I think that's a really difficult thing as a DM sometimes, though, because you're used to being in absolute control.
Yeah.
And when you fail, it feels like, damn it, I get so few chances to roll dice, you know.
Well, just think of it. You get so few chances to mess up, and you should honor all of those chances regardless.
Oof. Big oof.
Messing
You're right. But big oof.
Yes,
Speaking
truly.
of messing up, I got really excited there for a moment. I did the chat command to roll a d20 in the chat, and I got a natural 1.
Yes, very
Yes.
good. Very well
It was
done.
very, it was very on point for what we were talking about.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
you
better
illustrated
at
that
failing
perfectly.
than me, Chris. You're better at failing.
I think that's
Fail
actually one of
forward, fail forward, my friends.
Hey, we both got 8s, Caitlin.
Oh, heck yeah. I was
Heck
like, I got an
yeah.
8. I can't really say yay or
I got a
nay. And I had a
17.
feeling. I'm like, okay.
That's because you all are
Uh,
great.
okay.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh, you did it.
I did it.
Our,
I feel
our
so
powers
good about it.
combined. Our
Welcome.
powers combined were
Welcome.
one above Robin.
You know what? Hold on.
Amazing.
I'm gonna use my luck. I'm gonna use lucky. Oh, I got a
Lucky.
3.
Great.
Ah!
Well, shout out to the 3 team. That's gonna be a thing. I'm sure.
3s are the worst.
Yeah,
Threes,
threes
like,
are the worst.
Twos
One's
are
a
the
critical
worst.
roll. No. One's a critical roll. 2 is like you're the 2 crew, and like NADPOD has made it cool. But 3s are just
Have they?
trash.
Threes
I
are
think
just
they have. You can get a hat that's got the 2 on it.
Okay,
I
this
really
thing is
want
Oh my
being
gosh.
rigged. I
Ah.
don't
It's being rude. I
All
want to
right,
join
so
in.
Okay.
folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Call of the Netherdeep. We talk about dice rolling and gaming. As always, if you like what we do here, hit up the Patreon or give us a like, give us a sub, share us with your friends. I would really love it if people could go out there and share Dork Tales into the world. Particularly, we have very little presence on Reddit because most of us aren't really Redditors. That didn't happen. There is a Dork Tales subreddit now at r/dorktales. So if y'all want to like help us out, spread the word over there, but with nice people. Nice people are there, right?
All I could
Yeah,
think of when you
keep
said
the
we're
good half of Reddit.
we're not Redditors. I'm like, are we bluiters?
We're bluiters. We're yellowiters. I can hear my dog drinking very loudly.
Charlie.
Good for him. All right, so folks, we love you very much. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Call of the Netherdeep. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Stay away from any red moons, and be sure to always
Or
tip your
don't.
urbans. Your urban urbans.
Urban?
Your urban urbans.
When they're
Tip-
real drunk, you just tip them.
Tip 'em over.
Just tip them over.
Just like a light touch will do at that point.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
just
true.
like-
Over the
Boing.
But where, Xarria?
Oh my!
Oh.
Oh my!
Just right under the chin scruff. That's how you do it. Like just
Exactly.
like with like a stray dog. You just
Come here, boy. Come here, boy.
there is, you know what? There has never been a better description of Irvin Wastewalker than like a stray dog.
Truly, he is a
Seriously.
mutt.
He's Shaggy.
and
He's Shaggy
yeah, I
and
was
Scooby
gonna
mixed
say.
together.
I was just gonna say that you beat me to it.
Hopefully not in the Full Metal Alchemist way.
Oh no!
I'm sorry. I had to say it.
Xarria. You know what the best thing is? I actually do a voice in Full Metal Alchemist, one of the Full Metal Alchemist Abridged, and I actually play the guy who does that.
Oh.
So
Oh.
go watch it.
Woof.
It's on
Oh
one of them.
no!
I'm not sure
Should
the
I say
episode's
woof?
It's you can say woof. All right, Dorlen. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.